Good for you. It's a Friday. That means it is the Ryan Divish Show right here on pucksports.com. It's brought to you by Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, proudly serving the Northwest since 1941, located in Tacoma's Proctor District. Chalet Bowl has been family-owned and operated for over 40 years, delivering top-notch customer service and a unique 12-lane experience. Check out chaletbowl.com to book your next reservation. Experience the best in local fun. Divish joins us from the farm. And he joins us inside the Puck Sports Studios. It's built by Limbach Lumber, which, of course, family-owned and serving the Northwest since 1930. Summer is here. That's deck and fence season. So contact the fine folks at Limbach Lumber, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbachlumber.com. Puck Sports Studios, built by Limbach Lumber. You can follow Divish on X. He loves it. He loves answering all of your questions and comments. Lineup questions at Ryan Divish there on social media. How's farm life today?
It's good. It's well, you can hear the roosters. These fucking things. They seem to wake up whenever I come out here. You know, and I don't know if it's the dog. Like, well, the other night, like I heard a bunch of coyotes out here, and all I just want to do is just get in those roosters and destroy them all. I know it's really bad to say, but you know. And then you got you probably can't hear it, but we've got the irrigation sprinklers going in the background, and so they're doing we have a field of pumpkins over behind me on my right over there, and I can't believe how fast they grow. Holy crap. And then over on the other side we got the strawberries and everything else. My cousin, so it's funny, I came into the room I live in, and my cousin had a rangefinder for not golf but shooting, and I was like, what? And he goes, hey, the elk are coming out of the mountains, so I use and they go into our strawberry field and lettuce field over there and eat them. And he has a permit, landowner permit. So he's like, hey, just to let you know, like if you hear a big boom, that might be me shooting an elk on the property. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, I grew up in Montana, so
if you have a permit and they come on your property, it's okay to fire.
Yeah, because part of it is they're a nuisance and they destroy the crops. And there's an overabundance of them. But these things are I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever seen an elk in person.
Yeah.
So I just said to him, I was like, one, I'm not helping clean that thing. Two, I was like, whatever, I don't care. And I can't. But
I'll eat it.
I like elk meat, actually, because it's super clean. And there's a place in Tacoma called Dirty Oscar's Annex, DOA, right by where I used to live at. And they do.
Why have I been? I swear I've been there.
They have the best breakfast in Tacoma. And they have this stuff called, it's a braised elk hash. And so they braise this elk in like this, I don't know, like it's like an au jus. So it comes up, they put it on top of crispy potatoes, egg, and then they take their homemade sausage gravy and put it on there. It is like the best thing.
Sir.
Like, yeah. So like my buddy Brian, for his the day after his bachelor party, which I thought was one of the 5 most hungover days, or the day of his wedding, we went there at 8, and I think I slept on the table in the church for a while because I was so hungover. Because it happened during the trade deadline too, so it was like this was a few years ago. But so we got elk, we got the coyotes, got the golden retriever.
Got it all.
Yeah, I mean
it's you know what it is. It's clean living is what it is.
I mean, it's not quite Montana, but it's pretty damn close. And
it's pretty close. Yeah, it's pretty close. Well, we're going to jump into all of it today. Thank you again. Divish was on our MLB trade deadline show that we did on Tuesday. We had a full hour with him from Fenway. He was in the stands. Then he was giving you a tour around the facility. We took up a bunch of his time, but we appreciate it. We did 90 straight minutes, 30 with Puckett, then an hour with Divish. We gave him Wednesday off because of all the hard work he did on Tuesday. So we haven't chatted with Divish since the Tuesday trade deadline. Let's just start there. Surprised that they couldn't pull off another move, and were they close to? What do you know? Were they close on another move potentially before that deadline hit on Tuesday?
Yeah, I talked to some people from other organizations, and they said that the Mariners were one of the more persistent teams about calling. Now, they can be kind of, I wouldn't say reticent, but like they have, like any team, I think there's a limit about what you're willing to give up. They don't want teams that are trying to sweeten it. Like, hey, they believe in fair, they have metrics and everything. But yeah, like it sounded like they were still very persistent in trying to add bats, infield corner bat, maybe, somebody to work off of, work with, off of that third base with Josh Rojas. From everything I heard, though, like it became clear, and I think I talked to a couple people, the Blue Jays thing with Vlad. I mean, they always checked in again, but like I think about a week and a half, 10 days ago, the Blue Jays just made it pretty clear, like we're not moving Vlad. We're just not. And I mean, like, and everybody says, "Oh, just make them an offer they can't refuse." It isn't about that, because like what the Blue Jays are dealing with there isn't about just the actual baseball on the field. They just spent $450 million or something. I think it might even be more than that, to renovate the Rogers Center. They're trying to put together a roster that can compete next year because they're trying to get, pay off some of that. And it's owned by Rogers, which is like basically they don't have to worry about ratings. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have an RSN because Rogers owns all of that. Like, it's different in Canada. And so and I think they believe they can sign Vlad to an extension. And so like, for all those reasons, they just weren't really interested. I mean, I think to get him, you would have had to give up major league talent to get him, like, real guys. And I don't think the Mariners are in a position. It's similar with Yandy Diaz. Talked to some people, the other teams that were trying to get Yandy. I talked to a person in the Rays, and they're just like, we want major league talent for Yandy. Because, like, if you look at the Rays, and we mentioned this before, yeah, they gave up Randy Arozarena, Itzhak Paredes. The Arozarena deal is about money and how much he's going to make next year, and they don't want to pay that much. But if you look at the Rays, the rest of their team, like they're bringing back all their pitchers that were hurt this year. They had a bunch of guys have Tommy John and other injuries. Most of those guys will be back. They're starting to come back now. They have, Junior Caminero, one of the best prospects. They have really some stud prospects coming up too. And you know how they operate. They'll find guys on the margins. I mean, like, they're still rolling out a lineup with Yandy Diaz and Lau and Lowe, and they'll be a decent team. They need a catcher, but they're still going to try and compete. That's how they work, because they also have gotten a new approval for a new stadium, so they can't just turf it. What they do, their decisions and why they trade these guys are all about money. How expensive are they going to get, and whether or not that fits into the budget that they want to do. So I was told like they didn't want to trade big league pieces, or they didn't want minor league pieces. They wanted big league pieces that could help immediately, help next year. Again, Mariners don't have those guys. Like you're not getting Yandy Diaz. You're just not getting Yandy Diaz for Jonathan Clase, Tyler Locklear, and Emerson Hancock. That's not how it works. And so I think that's what the Mariners ran into. I mean, like if they need, we've talked about this on the other. This is indicative that they had so much need is the failures of the offseason and the underperformance of the players they brought in and the underperformance of the players that they still have. That's another problem. Like, you don't have to address all these things. I mean, like Urias in Tacoma outright it off the thing. Garver basically been reduced to a backup catcher. Haniger not playing more than once or twice a week, it seems like. Polanco finally figuring out, but now dinged up. Like their best kind of acquisition thus far has been Victor Robles, who was just jettisoned, they got for the major league minimum. So, it's tough. I mean, like Gregory Santos hasn't pitched hardly at all. So you're doing this. And I mean, like we talked about this before, because they were so limited on their budget, because they had to kind of work within the margins and they had to actually free up money to go get players. The players that are available are not what you call prime players. They all had flaws. They all had warts. I mean, it's like in a beauty contest. They all look like me or you. I'm still going to beat you. Maybe even in the talent.
I just don't think you have to bring in. I don't think you have to bring in looks for it to make your point. I don't think you need to blow my candle out.
We're both losing to Jude and his 98 degrees. I mean, when he goes out there and sings, God must have spent a little more time on you.
We need to stop praising Jude for his looks. It's just going to his head. It's too much.
I know. I mean,
God,
it's just we got to find somebody else better. I don't know. And now we got to fill Baker's spot. Maybe we can hire a pretty boy to fill Baker's spot. But I mean, like, look what we're dealing with over there. Like Booth, He looks like one of the minions. Booth looks like a Minions.
You are terrible.
I mean, it's true. Booth looks like one of the Minions. Condotta looks
so
like
bad.
Condotta looks like the young Christopher Lloyd from 1.21 gigawatts.
No, he's boring. These are your friends.
I know. And I look at me. I mean, like I've aged so significantly in the last 5 years. It's just nuts.
Why?
I don't know.
Just
maybe
everything.
that booze is catching up with me.
Hey, well,
I think it was all
step back on it.
It was I think it's more all the bragging about how Asians don't age as fast. The karma gods.
And you're the opposite.
No, I mean, like somebody the other day says, "Hey, are you? When do you turn 40?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm 49."
That's it. When you hear that, man, that puts a little hop in your step. Yeah. Hey, I want to go. Do we know it all? I think I asked you this on Tuesday, so tell me if something has changed. And not to speculate, but do we know what they potentially offered Vlad or Toronto for him?
I don't know for certain. I know from what I'd heard. Come here. What they were going to have to include they included infield. I think it was Cole Young, and Harry, and then probably Emerson Hancock. Because they need pitching, and I assume maybe we saw Brody Hopkins get traded, maybe Logan Evans. I don't know. But I mean, I know that they offered, I heard there was going to be at least 2 players in the top 100. Because it's like the Luis Robert deal. If anybody want to make that, like the GM kind of said, hey, we want like a Juan Soto. So on the Juan Soto deal, the Padres traded Mackenzie Gore, their top pitching prospect, and CJ Abrams, their top position player prospect. Yeah. Plus James Wood, who was like moving up fast and was probably 5. So that's 3 top, and they were all 3 in the top 100. So I'm guessing there were 2 top 100s in there, and then some other pieces. Because like this Aiden Smith kid that they traded to the Rays,
right?
Like he reminds me so much of Brandon Lau and Josh Lowe, like those guys. Speed, left-handed bat, can move, super athletic. Like he's going to be a good player. The Rays will make him a good player, but it was going to be pieces like that. So I don't know, but I think the Vlad thing went off the table so quick. It wasn't even like, we don't really care what you're offering anymore, because it's like, we're not interested. I think, and that's coming from one, the front office of the Blue Jays is total disarray. Like everybody believes Ross Atkins is going to get fired. And Mark Shapiro, who's been running the team, former GM of the Guardians, that he's still making a lot of the final decisions on this, and that they didn't want to make these moves this season because it sends a bad message, and you're still trying to you got to get your season ticket referrals and all that stuff. And that was kind of what's funny is I talked to some people in Toronto, and they really pissed off the fans because they sent out all the season ticket renewal packages before the trade deadline, wanting people to renew. And they set the deadline, not knowing, I mean, that's a Mariners move.
That's a smart move.
That's a Mariners move, yeah.
Of course it is, but I get it. It's a smart move.
No, it's business. I mean, I got to run like a business. So it's like, no. Yeah, like that last hour or so, they pretty much knew they were done. Like anything that they wanted wasn't going to move. Even some of the peripheral pieces. But I mean, like, I'm kind of stunned in a way about, there were a lot of trades. There were a lot of trades and like minor pieces with a ton of relievers. But like, what the fuck are the White Sox doing? What are the Rockies doing? What are the Angels doing? Like, what are you doing? They didn't make hardly any deals. I mean, the Angels traded away their 2 relief pieces. And I mean, that Garcia or Estevez would have been great for the Mariners. Artie Moreno is never going to do anything to help.
That's what I was going to say. That you've said this many times. I mean, they're just never going to trade with Seattle. I mean, you go back to the White Sox and Robert Jr. How far do you think they went down the road to get him? And was it a similar asking price to perhaps what Toronto wanted for Vlad?
I'm sure the ask was what, Toronto probably wanted, but I don't think the Mariners are willing to go that because I think he's kind of a dog. Like nothing about what we've seen from Luis Robert in the last 2 weeks. It's almost like he was trying not to get traded by showing as much disinterest as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been an absolute dog. And that's, I mean, like, you know what? You're investing a lot in that. You don't need that. You don't need a winker or reverb, or you don't need, guys that are disgruntled coming in, like that's just it's a bad vibe for a clubhouse that, let's be honest, is teetering a little bit with the struggles that they've been. So I don't know how far down the road they got on that. From everything, talking to a couple other people, they just said that the White Sox were out of their mind what they were asking for Robert, because he's been a dog and because he's been hurt so much, and like, I think, as one guy told me, he's like, look, the White Sox, they're a victim of their own circumstance, in that they allow this culture in their clubhouse and in the organization and this kind of apathy to purvey, that like it's infected of a lot of players. We saw what Kopech did the other night for the Dodgers, coming out pumping 100. I mean, yeah, he's probably reinvigorated by going there, but like, some players just aren't going to be that. They like the comfort of it all. I mean, they still want to go out and compete and everything, but do they really want to do this?
Okay, let's get to the Mitch Garver stuff.
Okay.
You were in there. I would assume Shannon, Daniel Kramer.
It was just me and Kramer.
Just you and Daniel Kramer. I assume everyone knows who Daniel Kramer is, but he covers the Mariners for MLB.com. All right.
An intense young man who acts 50 years old and has a fondness for khaki joggers.
And wears lots of khaki joggers. And every time I meet him, he gives me the look and the reaction of, it's the first time we've met.
I know.
All right.
Can you tell your former employers to pay him? He hasn't gotten paid yet for being on their station.
Is he doing a weekly with KJR?
Yeah, and he hasn't gotten paid yet.
Well, I think the silence will tell you everything yeah.
No, so
that's why when I took everything in-house. Everything was in-house for me. You go direct to consumer. Okay, so you're in there, you and Kramer in there. And you go over to talk to him. I've heard the audio, I've read it. To me, I'll just say this. I don't want to go down a baseball road here for a second. I want to go down the person avenue if we can. Yeah. I'm concerned for him. That just did not sound like someone that is in a good space. And I don't know what the right thing to do is. I mean, I said it on yesterday's show that maybe it's good for him to get away from it for like a week and just kind of reset, but I'm probably not going to do that. I get that. But I don't know. I mean, what was your reaction to it when he's talking, and then now you've had 24 hours or so longer to kind of react to it?
So we're watching the game, and like, we know how bad he's been. Like, I don't need people to tell me. Like, we're sitting there watching it every day, and like the at bats don't look competitive. Like he said, he's fouling off any good pitches he hits, or swinging and missing them, and then just swinging at garbage. Whereas, like, he even said, watching the good ones go by, because he's in his head. Like, the results and the struggles, you're in your head. So like, we're watching this and we're seeing how bad it is. And like, I remember Kramer saying, I think he stranded 5 runners personally. Like, then I go, well, now it's 8, and he got up there, in the 10th. And mostly I'm thinking, like, I'm not cheering for the guy. I'm just cheering for that game to end, because every game at Fenway is fucking 3 hours now. And I'm so spoiled by the pitch clock. But I'm just like, this will go a long way for this guy if even if it's just a gork, like a dying coil to the outfield, or a 27 hopper that somehow gets up the middle. Or, I mean, like, we saw how bad the Red Sox are defensively, and the guy actually made a nice play. So it's like, I'm thinking, man, this would help this poor guy out a ton. And so it doesn't happen. And you can't pinch hit him because of the way their roster's set up, and because they were out of players because Robles was hurt. So then I'm like, then he goes down, and then I'm like, well, this game's cooked. If you score 0 runs in the top of a inning at Fenway, top of an extra inning, you're done. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care who they could have brought in prime Mariano Rivera. They're losing that game. So like, what, they're done. And I'm like, okay, we go down there. We mentioned it to Service, like, hey, Mitch is really struggling, and he talked about it a bit. And I just said, I kind of asked him about being hamstrung by having 2 catchers and having to put him in the lineup, because I know why they put him in the lineup. Cal hits at Fenway and everything else. So then afterwards, kind of looking at Kramer, and Kramer says, I think we should talk to Garver. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, got to talk to him, And so kind of waited, showered and everything. And then Alex Mayer actually went over and said, hey, look, these guys want to talk to you. Because I think Alex, the way Fenway is set up, it's smaller than the Fenway clubhouse is smaller than a studio apartment in Belltown. And so he kind of brings over this area, because like the people are trying to get dressed and everything else. So it's just me and Daniel, and we start talking about the game. And then I kind of got in this, Daniel, I think, asked him a little bit more specifically about his performance, but Mitch talked more about the game. And then I kind of went, well, like, hey man, you've been really grinding, and then like to have these struggles today and everything else. And then he just kind of opened up, and like you could just hear it in his voice. Like he was fighting back tears, had a big lump in his throat, and he's talking about it, and then once, like you're in your mind, you're thinking, okay, well, this is kind of the story now. So then you're trying to get him, you kind of press a little bit more, but within reason, and I kind of knew like knowing about him and talking with him a little bit before the season, kind of knew where I wanted to go. And so that's when like he talked about the death threats and everything else and this and that. And then, and kind of the frustrations of it all, and accepting how bad he's been. And then like, I just asked him, well, you're not going to like just quit on this,
because let me stop you there. When I can imagine having been in that position before, right. And in an interview setting, when he's talking like that,
yeah.
Are you, cause I put myself in your shoes. Were you thinking this guy's about to just call it quits and walk out?
No, I thought he was going to break down into tears, like, oh. I mean, I think he's too stubborn. And I mean, like, let's not kid ourselves. We can't walk away from the amount of money he's owed. That's all.
Yeah, right.
Life-changing money. But like at that point, and you're hearing him talk about his failures and how embarrassed he is, the money doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he's getting paid, because he feels humiliated when he steps on the field or when he's done playing. Yeah. I mean, they lost a game. They're in this dogfight, and he of all people knows how much one game means.
Of course.
And like how important these games are and what the postseason's like, because he's got a freaking ring. So then he knows, like, he essentially helped cost them a game, because he went 0 for 3. He went 0 for 4 with runners on base and stranded 8 runners by himself. They stranded 15 runners in the game.
And he was 1
for 13 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, and he's their big offseason acquisition. Mm-hmm. He knows that. He got paid for the first time, and then he was, given playing time for the first time, consistent playing time in his career. So there was a lot of expectations going into the season for him.
Yeah, and the thing is like a lot of the adversity Mitch Garver has struggled with in his career is about health. It's not about performance. It's always been about health. The health beats him up to the point where he can't play. That keeps him out. He's always been productive when he plays. And I think, being around this game, players are, they can sit there and talk about it being a game of failure. And they can talk about the difficulties and controlling what you can control. But they're also human. And for so many of these players, they never really struggled, in their lives. They've always been the best player on their team. They've always, the game has been easier for them than it is for the average person. Not because because of talent, but because they work at it or whatever. And so I think that's the other frustration thing for Garver is everything he's doing that he knows to get out of a slump, or everything he should do to get out of this problem, isn't working. And then you're left with like this idea of feeling either helpless, hopeless, or like questioning everything you've ever known about the game. And that's the big thing too. Like you see it as these guys get older, how difficult it is for them to realize that their physical skills are eroding slightly and everything. I mean, like same with us. I mean, like for God's sakes, Puck, I love playing pickup basketball more than anybody, but like can't go play. And if I play, I'm done for a week and a half, I have no meniscus.
I played pickleball the other day and Wednesday, and I'm not recovered.
Yeah. Like I'm going to go play. Yeah, I'm going to go play fast pitch this weekend. I'll be sore for 3 freaking days. I think I have the stinger still in my foot. There's this shit is not getting better. I mean, it's better. It's less swollen. I'm pumping antibiotics through my body, and I think the stinger's still stuck in my leg.
So, like, what do they do with him? I mean, what's the future for Mitch Garver? I mean, I don't. I mean, do you expect him to be in the lineup on Friday night?
Tonight? Who's pitching?
Yeah.
Bryce?
It's the right-hander. It's the Phillips kid.
No, I don't think so.
No, he won't be in the lineup tonight.
I mean, they might. It just depends maybe what their numbers are, the metrics. I mean, they're in a weird spot too because they're in a weird spot with the DH position. Like you have Haniger,
Right.
you have Garver, you have Turner,
a million of them.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I don't know. I mean, right now, if you noticed, he's not getting as many DH at bats either.
Right.
And they're going to try and get Turner a couple DH at bats a week. So it's like he's essentially become the backup catcher.
He is the backup catcher for $12 million, for $24 million.
Yeah, and so another thing is it's a massive investment. It's an investment for next year. You try and fix it. You try and fix it. You don't just dump him. I mean, I would be stunned. And they don't have any catching in the system. Like Sebi Savala, I think hasn't got a hit in like 2.5 weeks at AAA. Okay.
And so he's still down there, right? He's still in Tacoma?
Yeah. They have another guy named Michael Papirski, who's a switch hitter. He was okay during spring training. His numbers aren't great here.
Yeah.
They've been using so many different catchers down there. I don't know how much consistent playing time anybody's getting. So
he's owed another $12 million next year.
$12.5 million next year.
And then Haniger has we haven't got to Mitch yet, but Mitch Haniger has a player option for 17?
17.5 or something like that next year. 17.
Now, do you think he'd ever do the M's a favor and not pick that option up?
No. Would you?
Of course not. I'm being smart ass.
Because that's the thing is like, and that's what people don't get too, is like when Haniger was most productive for the Mariners and when they screwed up his surgeries and all that other stuff, he was making the minimum.
Right? Oh, yeah.
So it's in their mind, in a player's mind, this is money owed. Like when he put up 40 bombs or whatever, he wasn't making much. I think he was in arbitration, so he made about 4. But this is money owed for pieces of my body that aren't there anymore and stuff like that. Or
they're going to have nearly $30 million tied up in 2 players next season. So you better honestly shouldn't be on the team.
Yeah, and then they'll sit there and say, "Oh, this is Mariners being cheap." No team does this. They all wait till the bitter end. They're all going to try and figure out how to fix them because you've invested that much money. It's like if you bought a used car. And you thought it was a really good one, and then shit isn't running right or it's causing you problems, you don't just leave it on the side of the road. You try and fix it. You go to different places. You try and fix it first. Like DFAing these guys is a last resort tactic where you have no other choice but to do it. And that's with all teams.
How much did the Astros eat on Abreu and Montero?
Montero, they're eating about $14.5 million, I think. Over this because he's owed like 2 this year and like 14 or maybe 13 next year. I don't know. He's at $34.5 million over 3 years.
Okay.
I don't remember. Abreu wasn't as much. I mean, it was some, but it wasn't as much. And then part of what
so it happens. My point is,
the Mariners did it. The Mariners did it with Sean Figgins. They had him like $14 million after. But they waited. I mean, Sean Figgins was cooked for a while, and then not to mention he was like a bad teammate and like nobody liked him.
Yeah.
And then he was a malcontent, and so finally they realized that was better just to get rid of him.
They can't bring both back, right? I mean, don't you think they've got to eat one of them?
Maybe they could bring them both back. I mean, at least you bring them back and at least give them a chance next year. And then see where, but like the problem is they're both kind of play the same position. They're both kind of DHs. I think Haniger's looked.
They are.
Well, Haniger's looked a little bit better this last couple of weeks moving wise. I don't know if he was dinged up or just I thought his swings have been better, but I don't know where they're at. That's the thing about Major League Baseball and guaranteed Major League contracts, and that's why so many teams are resistant to like. Going long term, going multiple years with certain guys because they just don't want the responsibility of paying down the road or paying guys not to play, and that's where they're at. Like you just don't see it as much anymore. I mean, look at Pujols for all those years. You know, how long
Yeah.
do you think? How long do you think the Angels carried Pujols when they didn't really want him?
Sure. I mean, a long time. Well, I mean, here's the. I think if you're going to keep both of them next year, we've talked about this earlier. I think in early episodes. I think you keep both of them next season, right? You got to put a first base glove in both of their hands
Yeah, well, Garver's played
in
first
the off
base,
season
so,
and just
yeah.
get them some time at it because you got to. They can't just be both DHs.
Yeah, Garver's played some first base in his
Yeah.
career, you
Yeah.
know. But the thing is like when you play both catchers at once, especially when Cal's the DH, then you lose your DH if you take Garver out. That's the hard part. Like if you DH Garver and you have Cal catching, then it's okay. Like if you really need to pinch hit late, but man,
Yeah.
like that's playing with fire too. I mean, think about how beat up Cal gets. So what happened? Like the other day when he took the ball off his free hand, he's catching. You know, if Garver's the DH and you pull Cal out of the game, that happened in the second inning. Then you got to go 7 innings covering the DH
I
spot
know
with
it.
your pitcher or your pinch hitters.
And I'm glad that you asked it. I'm glad that you brought it up to him after the game.
And I don't think Scott loves the idea of having, like, he just doesn't want to not have Cal's bat in the lineup. I'm sure he'd love to have a third catcher, but like Zavala isn't a third catcher because he's not viable. He can't play anywhere else. You know, like I don't know. And I wrote this today. Like if they really wanted to, there's some catchers that haven't played in the big leagues at all this season, haven't been on a 40-man roster, but have major league experience, like that they could go get if they had to. If they don't want to do Zavala, if they don't want to, you know, they have to make a 40-man move. But, you know, I forgot to check I think the rosters do go up 1 or 2 players in September. So maybe they bring in a catcher in September. They're just trying to piece it together till September 1st. But they're playing with fire, you know.
Of course they are. Absolutely. They've been doing it forever. I mean, and on top of it, they're running the guy into the ground. It's just, I mean, they're running him into the ground. Yeah, I mean, where is Tom Murphy?
He's in San Francisco. He's been banged up most of the year.
Okay, all right.
But like, you know, the thing is, it might not. And sometimes it's like the running Cal into the ground this year can still portend to problems down the road. You know, like next year, like beating him up physically. Because like I never like invoke my college playing days very much because it's like NAIA baseball where nobody can read and it's.
But you were an all county catcher.
Yeah, but like, you know, my junior year we played 50 games. I think 50 games. I caught 47 of them or something like that. And like the next year, like I was so physically beat up from doing it, you know, like that's where they're at with him, and it could be down the road. But I mean, they are playing with fire. It's not a good idea.
That's why I was texting you. It was the first game. That's why it was mind-boggling to me.
Yeah,
especially Service being a catcher. Why it's a blowout? You're not going to come back.
Yeah,
get him out of the game.
You never like to use your second catcher unless that's absolutely needed.
I know, but
you know, and so it's even like now. I mean, Garver's shown he can handle Munoz a little bit, but I mean, like I thought, you know, the wild pitch that George uncorked, I thought it was a catchable ball. I mean, I don't think it was easy, but do we think Cal catches it? Maybe is the slider away?
But I would just say this about Garver. I think he's handled himself fine back there.
Oh yeah, no, he's been fine.
And so, I mean, you look at Kirby. I mean, he's Kirby's personal catcher. So, I mean, I think he can handle anybody on that.
And Kirby's been pretty good since he started catching him.
Kirby's been great. And shout out to George Kirby. Can I real quickly? A young guy with an old soul, and there was just that little touch to throw the knuckleball in the very first pitch in that park to honor Tim Wakefield. That's a guy that gets it.
Yeah,
just gets it. Good job on his part.
I like George. He's a different cat. You know,
he gets it though.
Yeah, it was funny. I saw a bunch of his buddies from Elon University at Fenway one night post game. There was a lot of bros and dudes.
Oh, I bet there's I'm envisioning a lot of polos.
Yeah, a lot of backward snapback hats and stuff like
that too. Oh, it's so good. All right, so what do we know? What's the health on the players? I mean, this is the other thing, and we've gone 34 minutes and really haven't got to this. They are a banged up baseball team. I mean, they're obviously with the Julio and JP. I'm going to miss people now. We got Polanco's banged up. We've got Santos is banged up. Robles is banged up. Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody else?
Ken Zone is on the injured list too.
Well, yeah, but he's coming back in Tacoma this weekend.
He played for Tacoma last night. I think he'll play probably 5 or 6 games.
Okay, what do we know? Okay, JP we think is at the end of the month. Where's Julio's time frame? Closer?
Well, they said he was like, I was listening to Hollander, and he said that Julio was doing some light jogging, but I mean, like with a high ankle sprain, like he plays a premium defensive position, so it's more than just jogging, running the bases. Yeah. So yeah, until he's able to sprint and cut, he's not going to come back.
Okay.
And then
when can he come back? When is he eligible to come back? Do you know? Or do you have that off the top
probably
of your
this
head?
week? Probably this weekend, I think. But I doubt we'd see him back.
Okay.
And
JP,
then JP, it's going to be all about, because they said he was playing catch, but it's all about the vibration of the bat, because he puts the pinky finger down on the knob of the bat, and so it's like when that vibrates, when you swing and miss or something, or you foul off a ball, how does that feel?
Sure.
JP's got a pretty high pain tolerance, so he'll try and come back sooner than probably expected, but he'll need some rehab time. Robles has got a hip flexor issue, I think. He just got to play through it. I don't see them, I mean, I'm sure that he probably went and got an MRI just in case. They all do, but like the way Service made it sound, just give him a couple of days off and see if he can come back and play.
Yeah, he basically said he's got to play through it.
Yeah, and same kind of, I think, with Polanco. It's just like, I'm sure it's some tendonitis or whatever, and you're dealing with just knee soreness, knee stiffness. You got to play through it. You got to find a way to play through it.
How do you think Santos has performed?
I don't know, like unevenly. Like he's pitched 4 times?
Yeah,
he's left the game early twice. He's like when you see him throwing, it's right. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah,
but you got to post. Your best availability, as coaches say. He's not available. You got to post. That's why Jimmy Garcia, that guy pitches. Like, he goes. Like, he posts. He's out there.
Are we going Jimmy or Yimmy?
It's Jimmy, supposedly.
Dang it.
So, it's like a soft J, like yogging.
Jimmy.
So, yeah.
Jimmy?
That's what they say. But, like, to me, there's still I expect them. There's a whole bunch of relievers that just got, not Montero, but a whole bunch of relievers that just went on waivers. I think they'll look at all of them. They may wait. They may wait to see who clears and sign one to a contract. But they're, Colin Snyder has been one of their best relievers lately. Thornton's
real good.
You're seeing the effects of using Thornton so much.
Yeah.
He's looked really beat up. So they. Just about the time you think their bullpen's getting healthy, then Santos comes out, and usually if it's an arm issue, they err on the side of caution. So I don't know. We'll see. Hollander's giving an update today at 3.
Okay.
So we'll find out a lot of the timelines on these injuries and such.
Well, that's, they've just got a lot going on. I mean, they just, a lot that is injury-wise, the stuff with Garver. I mentioned it yesterday. What do you think? Let's say he's in the line whenever he comes back. It's Friday night, Saturday night, whenever he plays. What do you think the crowd should do? I mean, we've seen it where fans have given players who are struggling standing ovations and to let people know how they feel about him. And, it's worked. It's something that at least I brought up yesterday. I think that's what they should do with him. And before anyone says anything about, and I'm just going to repeat myself again on social media, but before anybody says maybe some Seattle soft thing to do.
Phillies did it twice.
And it's the toughest fan base in America.
I did with Trey Turner was at Alec Bohm. And Alec Bohm said, I hate this freaking place.
Yeah, but Turner was the biggest one because Turner remember that he signed the contract. He was just awful. And then remember and then the great thing about Turner, he took out the billboard or he was the billboard or the newspaper ad thanking the fans. So,
yeah, I mean, like, why not? I'm not. I don't
try it.
I don't tell people how to fan, but like, it's no different, I guess, than like if you're going through like a shitty time or whatever.
Yeah.
And you just like one of your buddies, you call up and say, hey, call up Condota. I'm like, look, I know you've had a bad hair decade, but like, hey man, it looks okay today. It's like,
Did you say decade?
Yeah, bad hair decade. But like, yeah, no,
He's human.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, like, and the thing is like, regardless of what people say, and I'm there every day. These guys hate to fail. They hate to lose. They want to win more than you do. Okay, these guys are conditioned. At least the ones like, especially like the guys on this team. I guess one of the better collection of human beings that I've ever covered. You know, like in terms of just being good, genuine human beings to deal with. And they want to win. Like they take the losses hard. They might not project it the way you would expect them to, but like they also have to compartmentalize it a little bit differently than you. But like you don't get to where they are without caring about your performance, about winning. And like these guys are unbelievably competitive, you know. And so it's like when they fail, it sucks. And yeah, and like I don't think any of them are above reproach. Like I've told players all the time, like when I meet them or I talk to them about kind of how I handle it, it's like I will never question whether you're hurt or you're trying or you're not hurt. Like if you're hurt, and I will never write, oh, he's probably not hurt. I'll never question whether you're trying or not without talking to you. And I said, you know, and I won't take a cheap shot. But if you suck, I got to write that you suck. Like if you're bad and you have a bad performance, I got to write it because like, you know, my reputation, like I see it, you know, I'll always ask, you know, it's so I don't know. And the players understand it. I mean, like
he knows that he's been terrible.
Oh yeah. I mean,
he knows that.
Yeah.
He just doesn't need to, you know, have someone tell him to go F himself and go kill yourself.
And then, you know, the thing is that the players will take it. The players will take it. It's when you start getting the wives involved.
Of course.
That's when they lose their shit.
Of course.
Marco dealt with that with people messaging his wife.
Yeah.
Eric Swanson. Like apparently Ryan Stanek's wife was taking a beating on Twitter. I mean, I would tell all these guys, get off of it.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
keep your Instagrams private.
100%.
You know, and like I realize it for brand building and stuff, and like these companies and stuff want to do it, but like I would still not.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And that's not to excuse the behavior of a minority group of people, but it's just like it from anyone that's in the public spotlight like that, especially athletes. It doesn't do you any good. It just doesn't.
I mean, like,
and don't search your name.
Yeah, never.
And don't search your name, and don't have a family member search your name.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, like the day I leave this job, I mean, who knows when that'll come?
We're never going to hear from you ever again on social media. You're done.
I'll keep my Twitter account, I'm sure, because I like it for certain news aspects, and then I like that Nature's Amazing Twitter account where they have all the animals and stuff.
yeah.
But like it'll go to private, and it'll be what I want. But like, I'm never, you know, I think, I mean, I made a conscious effort this year to just not reply as much. You know, I will reply, or if somebody DMs me, sometimes I'll reply to that. If like people have earnest questions, but like if you're just there to vent and bitch at me about how the Mariners are, and then blame me or say that I'm not tough enough on them, like I don't need it. You know, I don't need to engage in it. And so to me, it's like, why do it? Like, why would you have it if you don't? I mean, like,
perfect.
I think that's the best way to go about it. I was like, I thought about it the other day, just like how much time, you know, and you can make money off of it by engaging more, like make money off of Twitter. People do, you know, like you can make plenty of money. I'm not like Schefter and those guys. I don't, you know, I'd rather just have my peace of mind. It's not worth, you know, and that's the thing. It's crazy is you post something now and I look at my mentions and it's like 7 Mariners fans arguing with each other, with me included.
I know.
You know, like
you gotta mute it. You're just like, all right.
Because I don't really, you know, at the end of the day, you can debate it all you want, but it's just, you know, the philosophy. And I try to tell people all the time, like nothing I write is going to change anything that the Mariners do. I'm critical. Like I piss off Jerry DePoto once a week. It's, you know, sometimes twice.
How much gel do you think he had in the hair on the Zoom call?
Oh, it's a lot.
It was a lot.
You know,
LA gel, yes or no? LA gel?
Oh, I'm sure it's a little bit higher end than LA looks or whatever.
Were you an LA gel guy back in the day?
DAP or whatever it was, or DEP. That was the one. Or
yeah, God, LA gel. God, it was goopy.
it was gross.
It was so
And you
bad.
get
Do
the
they
little
still
like
make LA
boogers
gel?
of gel in there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, no.
Hey, I want to end it. That was kind of funny. We should just end there, but just real quick on the Garver stuff. One last thing. I'm assuming they do. Does Major League Baseball jump into this? Do the Mariners jump into this? Do they get the FBI into this? I mean, if there are death threats, I mean, I would assume there's a security team with the Mariners that look into this stuff.
Yeah, they have security. They have security that goes with the players on the road and everything else. They have a security.
But do they investigate this?
Oh yes, yeah, they have security. Right. Like, well, so like I got I've gotten a couple kind of emails from one Mariners fan who's a little.
Oh, and you forwarded them on.
A little passionate, but they include like John Stanton's Mariners email that obviously he probably doesn't check, like it's
okay.
Email. But like, and then to Mariners, like, I don't know, to the Mariners themselves. And like, a couple of them were pretty like volatile towards me and everything else as well. And like, a person from the Mariners just reached out, like, are you concerned about this? Because we're involved, we check into these things, but do you have any concern level for your safety? And I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'll handle myself fine. But I posted a couple of the crazy emails that I got at the Times too, from readers like attacking me in the Times. And the Times, we get those where any sort of threat, we have to forward them to we have a security team too. So they have a security team. They investigate all of this stuff. And so that's standard protocol for MLB.
And it's amazing that when they looked into it, it all came from one account, and that account being Alex Akita. So.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's too big of a smart ass. It's probably Jim Moore's burner account, Stevie or Mikey Moore.
Probably. Well, it could be Mikey.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
They're just Mikey. They're pounding pitchers and getting angry.
Oh, Mikey, God, I love him. He just gets all worked up. All right, we took a lot of your time. You have a wonderful rest of your day there, and beautiful on the farm.
It's a little muggy out today, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's good for you.
It's been muggy this whole summer. Yeah, it's
Gold Bond day.
We're taking the vampire to. Have you ever been to a fish sticks game?
Have
you heard about these guys?
Yeah, I heard they're pretty fun.
Yeah, over in West Seattle. That's for his birthday tonight, and they're playing banana ball.
Oh, really?
Playing like the Savannah Bananas. That'd be fun.
Wait, the real Savannah Bananas?
They're not playing them. They're playing. You know how the Savannah Bananas play?
Oh, yeah.
They call it banana ball. That style. Yeah. They're playing that tonight for the fish sticks.
Yeah.
They're playing that. Yeah.
I went to about an inning of the Bananas in Peoria. It's pure chaos.
Oh, that's all it is pure chaos. All right, there he is, Ryan Divish. Follow him on social media on X at Ryan Divish. Read all of his work there at the Seattle Times, seattletetimes.com. Go get yourself a hard copy. I think I have a hard copy. Here, hold on one second. I didn't look at it today, not yet, but I look at it later. But there it is. Go get yourself. Come on, hard copy. Right.
You can do the crossword too. I mean, if you're smart enough.
Crossword, yeah, I can't. Crossword right there. I mean, let's see. What do we got? Above the fold. Shocking. No storm news.
It's rain season.
There we go. Condota's above the fold.
Oh, yeah.
So are you. You're above the fold. There we go. Seafair story.
Oh yeah.
Love Seafair.
What do you think of the new Rainier's lid? Sam Slime.
Yeah, that's good. God, they make great stuff. God.
No, I gotta go. They have this one in black, so I'm gonna have to get that.
Good stuff. All right, the Ryan Divish Show brought to you by Chalet Bowl. Again, follow Ryan on X at Ryan Divish for the latest updates. You can also connect with me on X and Instagram, Puck2040, and of course on TikTok, Puck_sports, and on Facebook. New episodes with Ryan drop every Wednesday and Friday. YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, comment away. And of course, all content up at pucksports.com.